Egypt has one of the most fascinating and ancient histories in the world, stretching back over 5,000 years. The history of Egypt can be divided into several key periods, from the rise of the pharaohs and the Old Kingdom to the modern state of Egypt. Below is a detailed overview of Egypt's history. 1. Prehistoric Egypt before 3100 BCE. The earliest known human settlement in Egypt dates back to the Paleolithic period, about 10,000 BCE, where hunter-gatherers lived along the Nile. Evidence of early agricultural communities begins around 5,500 BCE. By 4000 BCE, the communities along the Nile had developed into more organized societies, with distinct cultural practices. The unification of Upper and Lower Egypt is traditionally dated to around 3100 BCE, early dynastic period circa 3100 to 2686 BCE. Unification of Egypt. The legendary King Narmer, or Menes, is credited with uniting Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom. This marks the beginning of the First Dynasty and the early dynastic period. Capital. The capital city of Egypt during this time was Memphis, located near modern Cairo. Development. This period saw the establishment of the pharaoh as the central ruler of Egypt, as well as the formation of a centralized bureaucracy, writing, hieroglyphs, and religious institutions. Third Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE. The Old Kingdom is often referred to as the Age of the Pyramids, and it is during this time that the most famous pyramids were built. Pyramids. The Step Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, circa 2670 BCE, is considered the first pyramid. The most famous pyramids, including the Great Pyramid of Giza, were built during the 4th dynasty under pharaohs like Khufu, Cheops, Khafre, and Menkaure. Centralization of power. The pharaohs were viewed as gods and were the supreme rulers of both Egypt and its people. The state was highly centralized, with the king having absolute power. Collapse of the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom ended due to internal strife, economic problems, and possibly a severe drought, leading to the First Intermediate Period, circa 2181 to 2055 BCE. First Intermediate Period circa 2181 to 2055 BCE. This was a time of political fragmentation and decentralization, with rival dynasties competing for control of Egypt. The central government in Memphis collapsed, and regional rulers, or nomarchs, took power in various parts of Egypt. Despite the chaos, art, literature, and culture continued to develop during this period. Middle Kingdom circa 2055 to 1650 BCE. The Middle Kingdom marked the reunification of Egypt under the 11th dynasty and the rise of the 12th dynasty, with Mentuhotep II often credited with restoring order after the First Intermediate Period. The capital was moved to Thebes, and Egypt's borders were expanded. This period is known for the flourishing of the arts, literature, and monumental architecture. Amenemhat II and Senusret III are notable pharaohs of this time. The Middle Kingdom ended with the invasion of the Hyksos, a Semitic people from the Levant who took control of the northern parts of Egypt. Second Intermediate Period, circa 1650 to 1550 BCE. The Hyksos ruled much of Lower Egypt during this period, establishing their capital at Avaris. Their rule is often seen as a foreign occupation, though they did adopt many aspects of Egyptian culture. The native Egyptian rulers, based in Thebes, resisted the Hyksos, leading to the eventual expulsion of the invaders by the 18th dynasty. New Kingdom circa 1550 to 1070 BCE. The New Kingdom is considered the peak of Egyptian power and glory. It was marked by territorial expansion, great wealth, and monumental construction projects. Pharaohs of the New Kingdom, Ahmose I, circa 1550 BCE, expelled the Hyksos and reunified Egypt, beginning the 18th dynasty. Hatshepsut, circa 1479 to 1458 BCE. One of the few female pharaohs, she expanded trade and built impressive temples, including her famous mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari. Thutmose III, circa 1479 to 1425 BCE. Known as the Napoleon of Egypt, Thutmose III expanded Egypt's empire to its greatest territorial extent, conquering parts of the Levant, Nubia, and Syria. Amenhotep IV, Akhenaten, and circa 1353 to 1336 BCE, famous for introducing monotheism and worshipping the sun god Aten. His religious reforms were unpopular and were reversed after his death. Tutankhamun, circa 1332 to 1323 BCE. Famous for his tomb, which was discovered largely intact in 1922. He is often associated with the restoration of the old polytheistic beliefs after Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution. Ramses II, Ramses the Great, circa 1279 to 1213 BCE. One of Egypt's most famous pharaohs, known for his military campaigns, especially the Battle of Kadesh, and the construction of monumental temples, including Abu Simbel, the New Kingdom ended with the decline of Egypt's power due to internal strife, invasions, and the growing influence of external powers such as the Libyans, Nubians, and the Sea Peoples. Third Intermediate Period, circa 1070 to 664 BCE. This period saw a weakening of central authority. The country was divided between various competing rulers, with the Libyans, Nubians, and Assyrians exerting influence over Egypt. Egypt was invaded by the Assyrians in the 7th century BCE, and they controlled parts of the country, but local rulers continued to hold power in the south. Late period, circa 664 to 332 BCE. The late period saw Egypt experience a brief resurgence under the Site dynasty, but it was eventually conquered by the Persians in 525 BCE, becoming part of the Persian Empire. Egypt was later ruled by several foreign powers, including the Persians, Macedonians, and the Ptolemaic dynasty, Greek rulers. After Alexander the Great's conquest of Egypt in 332 BCE.
Greco-Roman period, 332 BCE, 641 CE. Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BCE and founded the city of Alexandria, which became a major cultural and intellectual center of the ancient world. After Alexander's death, his general Ptolemy established the Ptolemaic dynasty. This dynasty ruled Egypt for almost 300 years, with Cleopatra VII being the last ruler of this line before the Roman conquest. In 30 BCE, after Cleopatra's defeat by Octavian Augustus, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. 11th. Roman and Byzantine Egypt, 30 BCE, 641 CE. Under Roman rule, Egypt was a vital part of the empire, particularly for its grain supply, which was critical to feeding the population of Rome. Christianity spread throughout Egypt during this time, and Egypt became an early center of Christian thought, with Alexandria being home to one of the most important early Christian theological schools. In the 4th century, Egypt became part of the Byzantine Empire after the division of the Roman Empire. Islamic Egypt, 641 CE, present. In 641 CE, Egypt was conquered by Arab Muslims, marking the beginning of Islamic rule. Over time, Egypt became a major center of Islamic culture and scholarship. The Fatimid Caliphate, Ayyubid dynasty, and Mamluks controlled Egypt in the medieval period, with each dynasty contributing to Egypt's cultural, religious, and architectural development. In the 16th century, Egypt became part of the Ottoman Empire and remained under Ottoman control until the 19th century. Modern Egypt emerged in the early 19th century with the rise of Muhammad Ali, who established a semi-autonomous state that later became part of the British Empire in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Egypt gained independence in 1952 after the Egyptian Revolution, which led to the establishment of a republic under Gamal Abdel Nasser.